Once the site visit has been completed, we simply move on and create a quote. At the quote stage, we now track the version of the quote. So if there's any variations or revisions to this document, we can see which version we are currently looking at. I would highly recommend to always set a title so that when you're looking at quotes in a list format, you don't have to open each individual one up to see what the project is about. Let's say we're going to do some anchor installation, pressure washing, painting, and a final window clean. The quickest way to produce a quote is to simply import a quote template. At this point, you can have as many quote templates as you like. Let's say I will use my amazing anchor installation template as a base. And at this point, the system has imported for me what we call two composed items. A composed item is essentially, to the customer, it will look like a single line item, but to us, we can also then break it down and track, for example, the labor to install the system, the anchor points we need, and the chemical we'll need to set the anchors. Note, I can either modify individual quantities and just have it all as one price, which will give me here my resulting final figure, or I could use what we have here, where we have a calculating tool. So I can see I need half an hour to install each anchor, and I will need one anchor for each anchor point. If I now multiply this with 45, as I have up here, it calculates that we need 22.5 man hours to complete this work, and I'll need 45 anchor points in total. So these are my composed items. Let's move on and add some pressure cleaning. As you can see, we can have images with our items to make the searching easier. I'll add the pressure cleaning. At this point, I can make any changes to the text. We can do bold, italic, and change the color, use bullets, numbering systems, and even hyperlink text within the description to different websites. The magic of JGID happens here with these categories. So see right now we've selected the category pressure cleaning. This is a totally customizable drop-down menu which can be tailored to suit exactly the nature of your business, and these categories will then create a whole deal of automation, which I'm going to show you in a second. I'm going to quote per man hour, but you could also quote per man day, week, per unit, etc. I recommend to stick with man hours because it makes it easier to compare estimated versus actual hours worked on a job. Let's say I'm going to have to work 16 man hours, so that could be 2 people for one day. My estimated cost per man hour is $60. I'm going to charge $95 per man per hour on the job, which gives me a total estimated cost of $960 with an estimated profit of $560 and a final value of $1,520. Save that, and I'm going to add some painting. And just for this example, actually, I've got the painting here as a do and charge. So the difference between do and charge and lump sum is a fixed price where the customer can't see the unit and quantity of units estimated. You'll only see a final price. Whereas if I do and charge, it will charge as however many units we complete of work. So let's say I'm going to make this 0 man hours. So we'll just show the hourly rate per man or per person per hour to complete this work. And this will then be calculated based on the timesheets of the team entered. Note, category painting. And now lastly, we shall add a final window clean. And for this example, let's just say we're doing 16 man hours again. 16. Now that I've added all my items, I would go through my checklist, at which point I can add any operational observations. So we already know that we work in heights and using ladders because this information came from the location. But now I shall also add an elevated work platform, rope access, and working at heights. And let's just, for the example, say we are also going to work in a confined space. Now that we've added our items and done the checklist, if I go to clauses, you see at the moment I've just had one clause here related to a deposit before we start our work. But now the system will automatically add all these additional clauses into the document for me based on the categories of work or access or environment that we've selected. Same will go for who will provide what. So if we refresh this, you can see now we're automatically also providing window cleaning equipment, pressure cleaning equipment, and the client, for example, needs to provide color specifications so that there's no disputes in regards to what color we're going to use on the job, and they will need to provide 2 sets of keys or swipe cards as required for safety reasons. Lastly, I'll go to the intro. If I need, I'll personalize the name of the person here. So let's say this was Dear John. And if I wanted, I could add here further pictures, replace the pictures with site-specific photos, etc., just to make sure everyone's on the same page in terms of what gets done. Okay, let's go and have a look at this quote that we've just created. Your logo will come here. These are your company details. These are the details that came from the new inquiry. We've got our cover page pre-written. You can see automatically what got written here in terms of what we, the contractor, will provide and what we expect others, including the customers, to provide. Here's our itemized quote. Item number 4 is a due and charge item, so you can see we're showing the quantity and the unit and the price per unit here, which gives us a total of 0. And then under here we have all our clauses which have automatically been added into the quote. We have a section with our basic terms and conditions. The client can sign off in here straight away via the email when we send them the quote. And then you have here your final terms and conditions, and after this you could add on an appendix talking about any other services your company might be able to provide as well. By the way, I forgot to mention, under the items here, if you ever wish, you can actually show the breakdown by clicking to group here, and what that does is it converts a composed item into what we call a sub-item group, so the client can actually see a breakdown of each line item. It's up to you if you want to show this or hide it. As long as it's got this icon and it's collapsible, you can hide it from the client. Even if you leave it expanded, the customer won't see it. If you show it like this, they will be able to see it, and it will go itemized onto the tax invoice as well. Just for now, I'm going to leave this so that you can see the 2 different examples. Let's say our quote has been completed. I can save a copy of this quote to Dropbox, go straight away into the right folder, and then I send the quote to my client. You can have all your emails pre-written, and when you send the quote, you can send this with a customizable link, so you can call this link whatever you like, where the client can click on and then sign this quote electronically. I'll hit send this to our client, and I'll next go to our customer inbox to show you what it would look like for the client when they sign the quote. So we're now in our customer inbox, where you can see they've just received the email with that customizable link that they can click on to approve the quote. By the way, a PDF is attached a conventional way to the email as well, so if they want to download it or print it out, they can do so. But let's now click onto this link so you can see what it's like for the client to sign this quote. They can review the whole document, again with all the who provides what and all the clauses added automatically. By the way, here you can see item 1 with the breakdown and the subtotal for the group of item 1, all our clauses that have been added automatically, and then this is where the client signs off. Let's say they are the director, they sign here, double check their email address, and then sign the quote, which will email the customer a signed copy of the quote, and you will also be notified. So like here you can see, well done, quote has just been approved, so that would be the email that you've received, and the customer will receive an email like this saying thank you for approval of the quote with a signed PDF attached. Okay, let's go back to our project. So back at home, the quote was sitting here in pending quotes to be followed up. Once the quote has been approved, it automatically gets moved into jobs in preparation. Also up here we have a timeline with notifications of everything that's ever happened in our system. So I can see here the quote has been approved. If it's got our logo next to it, that means it's been approved electronically and this job here has been created. Once I'm in the job, I can now see how many times this job has been done and which version of the quote we're working on and the overall project number. So if this is a recurring job you might do weekly, monthly, 6 monthly or annually, this number will go up with every repetition. You can automatically have jobs being scheduled again when they're next due. Job status right now is preparation, which means we need a list of materials a safe work method statement, and then we need to schedule some workers on the project. First thing is I will hit the generate button here, which means the system has pulled all the different items from my quote and made me a list of the materials and the tools and PPE that we need to do this work. I could continue adding to this checklist, which will then create for me a job hazard analysis. Right now all my hazards here are zeros. I simply click the generate button, and in a few seconds all the risks associated to anything that's on the checklist will be added here in our job hazard analysis. So you can see, for example, under access, elevated work platform has these hazards, these are the risk levels, these are the controls we put in place, and then these are the residual risk levels after the controls have been put in place and who's responsible for the implementation of these controls. In the interest of time, I'm going to just keep moving here. We can have a look at a signed document in a moment. Let's go to scheduling.